also, I think, a concern with the potential of abolishing the divisions, getting to a rematch possibility in a Big Ten championship game is, of course, some people are going to argue that, hey, Ohio State, Michigan twice a year would be phenomenal. Bring it on. Others would be, well, you're tarnishing what is the game, and it's no longer the game if they're going to play the next week. And then if you're a glutton who wants the not just the 2 matchups, but maybe potentially the 3 matchups, if they're both undefeated at the end of the season, then they split, let's say, 2 games and they're both 12-1, and there's an expanded playoff, then you get a potential playoff game between the two. Do you think are you on the side of tradition and purity and sanctity of the game, or bring it on, it's just a changing world?
I don't have the graphic in front of me, but there really weren't going to be a lot of Ohio State versus Michigan Big Ten championship games based under what the system would look like. Granted, Michigan didn't have its what together for a lot of years in terms of its on the field success. So if you take it for what it's worth, and Michigan won the last game and appears to be trending in the right direction, but we'll see what happens without Hutchinson and Ojabo and Daxton Hill and Hassan Haskins, et cetera. I could go on with the list, whether or not that was a 1-year deal or if they've kind of figured out a little bit of the secret sauce. But I think it's a lot of worrying about something that we haven't necessarily seen yet, and I know we haven't seen it because it hasn't been something that has been in the cards because of the system. I know that coming out of the 1 versus 2, the 42-39 game in 2006, and everybody wanted to see Ohio State Michigan play in the BCS championship game. And granted, that wouldn't have been like the following week, but it would have been the next game at that point. And people, Ohio State fans, Michigan fans, a lot of fans were all about it. And there are a lot of fans that weren't all about it as well. But I did go to Ohio State during a time where Ohio State could not win against Michigan. I got to see a tie, but I never got to see a win as an undergrad. So, I come at this from my own unique place as a 50-year-old in this rivalry of what I saw when I was in college. I understand how special the rivalry is. I mean, there's just a lot to it. Do you take a lot away by the potential of playing the next week? Absolutely. I mean, God forbid if you were to play 3 times. I mean, it's hard enough to beat a team a second time. I wouldn't even know what to say about beating a team a third time. This isn't baseball where you have a different pitcher out there and conditions are so different each time around. It's certainly got to be different, but I don't know. I know what I don't want to see. I don't want to see them move the game from the last regular season slot to somewhere else to protect the rivalry that way, because that would just do the opposite. That would crush the rivalry in terms of what it means, whether or not you say, well, we're going to play it, it's going to be the first conference game of the season, or it's going to be November 1 or whatever. No, to heck with that. It needs to remain in its spot, and you figure out the rest later.
Yeah, that would be awful. Just consider, regardless of which side of this rivalry you're on, just think of all the historic after game scenes with the players and everyone rushing the field, and it's just like, that's it. That should be the end of the season. Look at what Michigan accomplished last year. Look at the scene at the Big House. We've seen it many times in Columbus. That shouldn't go straight into a game against Maryland the next week. Like, that's supposed to be it. That's supposed to be, you laid it all out on the line. That's the game. You're done. Yeah, and it's all postseason after that.
It would be a trap game for both teams because, I mean, it's such a meaningful game. You can use all the platitudes that you want to in terms of all of that. But, I mean, you come out of that game, you empty the bucket, so to speak, and then you have to go and play Maryland or Northwestern or Illinois or whoever, whatever the case may be. And the odds you come out flat are high because of just the emotion in the other game. And I don't care if Ohio State and Illinois play for a wooden turtle. It's just going to be hard to get up for that game. So the Michigan game is where it belongs.